Fire up your Friday
Fired Up Friday
with Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
I am Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
Over the next hour of this Master Connection series, we will take a deep dive into the different ways to connect and network effectively.
See us and hear us right now. So LinkedIn, we are on here. We're getting ready.
Hear from experts along with Steve Spiro, who went from being shy and introverted to the Master Connector.
All right. LinkedIn Live. Make sure you're liking, you're sharing, shouting out your city and state, questions, comments. We want to hear from you. We're going to be talking about invisible barriers today. We're going to talk about the invisible barriers that you set up for yourself, the invisible barriers that you run out in the world. I'm so excited. We have an amazing panel. We have Abie, Gabor, in for Mr. Steve Spiro, who's out on vacation. I'm going to get right into bios, but I just want to remind you before I start into our bios for our shows, make sure that you're liking, you're sharing, you're shouting out your city and state, that you're hitting that thumbs up button, the little clappy emoji, the support button, the heart button, curious, insightful. We love your engagement. Please let us know where you're tuning in from. I see the comments coming in right now. We got Braden Daniels. Thank you so much for tuning in from Mansfield, Texas. Paul Kleiman saying hello to Abie, Gabor in for Steve Spiro. So really excited about it. And with that, I'm going to jump into our intros to officially get things started here. I'm going to push some buttons. Going to get Abie up on the screen here. Get over to my summary bio. Here we go. Mr. Abie Gabor, thanks for being here. You're subbing in for the Master Connector, Steve Spiro, and Abie Gabor is a Master Connector. I know him well from my Master Networks connection. He's pulled together an amazing chapter, White Plains 8 a.m., an incredible group. Steve is a part of that group as well. And so we're so excited. He's born in Israel, grew up in the Bronx, attended high school in NYC, went to Brandeis University, became an entrepreneur after graduating in 1984, worked in his family food business thereafter, and bought his first supermarket in 1986, lived in Manhattan for 16 years, moved to White Plains in 2000, owned 6 supermarkets over 33 years, sold his last store in 2016, survived a near fatal car accident in 1994. God was watching over him and told him that it was not his time, was hospitalized for 45 days, and that's where he discovered his angel, Liz Gabor, who is also an amazing person. So excited that I know her. At that time, he realized that every day is a gift and could not be taken for granted. Knew that he had to share his motivating story with as many people as he could. In 2015, he was introduced to ACN and realized that this business not only made sense, but would also be his platform to speak publicly about his story. At ACN, he helps people save money every month on their essential services that they'll use for the rest of their lives. But we also give the opportunity for those that want and or need an opportunity to earn income from these services. Man, just an amazing person. Abie, if you would, just welcome folks to the show. Thanks so much for being here in Steve's place today. We really appreciate you.
It's an honor to be here. I am so excited to host the show. Guys, we're going to have a great time this week. So get ready, fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a great discussion. We love your feedback. We want to hear from all of you as well.
All right, we're going to go over to Elise. I'm going to introduce Elise Michaels. Wanted to shout out Pat Laurie, who's checking in. Elise Michaels. Elise is a mindset and mental health coach who has turned her own trauma and experiences into a coaching program where she now helps entrepreneurial men overcome their subconscious blocks. She's amazing on LinkedIn. Everyone that's on LinkedIn, please make sure if you're not already connected to Elise Michaels that you connect with her. Elise, welcome to the stage. Welcome to the show. Please say hello to everybody.
Hey guys, super happy to be here and excited about our conversations and diving into stuff that's not just surface level today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Elise. I'm going to go over to Mr. Mac Burnett. Mac Burnett is a business architect, and growth hacker who helps service-based businesses, startups, and nonprofits model, market, and monetize. As the founder and CEO of Powerful Impact, he helps organizations package up their products and service, promote it to a target audience, and then profit from those activities. Mac is a speaker, author, coach, and professor with an intense passion for solving problems for today's entrepreneurs. Author of 101 Things You Need to Know About Digital, Mac has an intense passion for helping others. Mac currently teaches growth strategy and marketing at New York University and is also taught at Rutgers and St. John's University, working with companies such as Nespresso, Planned Parenthood, Girls Who Code, Twitter, AXA Equitable, Nespresso, CBS Outdoor, Udacity, Phase 2 Outscale, and the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Please welcome to the stage the amazing Mac Burnett. Thank you, sir. Thanks for being here. Say hello to everybody. We're playing with the mute button, both of us. Go ahead. You unmute.
We're playing with I don't know if you want me to talk or not. Listen, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Cameron. I'm coming straight out of New York, and it's just a great panel. And I definitely want to talk about invisible barriers because I suffer from that as well. So looking forward to the conversation.
I love it. All right, we're going to go over to the amazing Ramon Ray. Ramon Ray is an in-demand expert on small business success. He's a global keynote speaker, event host, and MC, entrepreneur, and best-selling author. Ramon inspires and educates thousands of business owners a year and works with leading brands to help them reach small businesses. He's the founder of smarthustle.com, which inspires and educates small business owners. Ramon started 4 companies and sold 2 of them. Celebrity CEO Ramon's 4th book is about building a community and personal brand. Ramon has been invited to testify at the United States Congress and speak at the White House. Get to know Ramon better at www.ramonray.com. Ramon has shared the stage with celebrity business thought leaders such as Seth Godin, Simon Sinek, Gary Vaynerchuk, and others. He's interviewed all 5 tank sharks, including David John, Barbara Corcoran, Lori Greiner, Mark Cuban, and Robert Herjavec. He's interviewed President Obama and joined Ivanka Trump at the Global Entrepreneurship Summit in India. I got a little tongue-tied there. Over his extensive career, Ramon has written thousands of articles, spoken to thousands of business owners, and impacted hundreds of thousands of small business owners and entrepreneurs to help their businesses thrive. Ramon, thanks so much for being with us here today. Welcome to the stage.
Cameron, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here with all these amazing ballers. Thank you.
Appreciate you. As always, short-spoken. All right, we're going to go over to Mr. Scott Dell. Dr. Scott Dell brings enthusiasm and passion along with 20 plus years of domestic and international business experience to the table. Sharing this knowledge combined with over 10 years of full-time academic teaching and program management knowledge, he strives to combine the best of academia with the direct application of effective business practices. This helps him enhance the lives of those he has the good fortune to encounter. As the author of definitive LinkedIn resource, Your Complete Guide to Succeeding with LinkedIn. Hello, we're a LinkedIn show. Might be something relevant to everybody watching today. He helps you develop a top 5% profile, assisting you to achieve your goals. Dr. Scott takes you on a journey to effectively use this powerful tool. He shares his knowledge and skills willingly. Dr. Scott has the business experience, academic credentials, and entrepreneurial scars, allowing him to effectively serve others. He was a former Big 8, now Big 4 licensed CPA, holding multiple degrees, including a UW doctorate from Wharton MBA, Boston U Bachelor's in Accounting, Business, and Education Master's in Ed Tech. Is founded, owned, grown, and sold multiple business, interviewed and hired thousands, and brings this knowledge forward to help others succeed. Please welcome to the stage, Dr. Scott Dell.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here, Cameron. Great introduction. And I'm honored to be with this esteemed panel and look forward to growing and sharing together.
All right. Thank you so much, Scott. Want to just shout out our amazing audience. We got so many people checking in here, so I want to make sure we're shouting them out. Andy Phillips, who is promoting the show this morning. Thanks for checking in. Everybody, let me know where you're tuning in from, too. I always love hearing that. Even if you think I've heard it before, it's great information for everybody else that's in the chat. Chris Janewski checking in. Hey, Abie and Cameron checking in from Yonkers, New York. Elizabeth Gabor, somebody that I think Abie knows pretty well, checking in. Thanks, Liz, for being with us today. The Chris's are definitely in the house. I see that comment with Chris Januski and Chris Dutra in the house. Yep, the Chris's are here. Paul Kleinman, thanks for checking in. Ellie, thanks for being here. Hello, happy Friday. All right. Bruce is also checking in. We got the couples teams coming in. Mr. Rico, Ricky, Richard, Cuzio, Excelsior, sir. Thanks for checking in with us. Alyssa Zangetti checking in from Boston. Nice to see you. My clubhouse friend there, Alyssa, checking in with us. Ramon and Alyssa and bunch of great moderators get together every Wednesday at 5 p.m. for a great show. With that said, Abie, if you would get us started here on the topic of invisible barriers. I know I was talking about a couple of different ways. How are you seeing this topic, and what does invisible barriers mean to you?
Absolutely. But before I get into the topic, Cameron, you said a lot. You were amazing the way you introduced each and every one of us, and we all are so grateful for you to do this show every single week. You are doing an incredible job, unbelievable, every single week, week in and week out, both you and Steve, and we really honor you and thank you for giving us this platform to speak right now.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you every time, brother. So what I can tell you is this: when it comes to invisible barriers, what comes to mind with me right off the bat is limited beliefs. That's so often what people, that's an invisible barrier that people have right off the bat. And it's all about their belief. And I'm going to give you one example right off the top before we start giving it up to and letting other people within our panel speak here right now. But I'm going to start with this one. So it was thought that the, 4-minute mile would never, ever, ever be broken, right? And the first time that ever happened was on May the 6th, 1954, when Roger Bannister broke it in Oxford University. And then check this out. Within 6 weeks, in less than 2 years thereafterwards, 37 people broke the 4-minute mile barrier. Now, why was it? It wasn't that all of a sudden people started getting that much faster at that time. No, it was that their limited beliefs, it kept them from doing it, but it didn't keep Roger Bannister from doing it. And that's what, that's how we're going to start this right now in talking about limited beliefs. It's all in your mindset of what one can do and one cannot do. So you keep your mindset in the right place, taking one step day after day and just keep moving forward, being persistent in what you have. You're going to get through these invisible barriers, if you will, if you want to call it that. And that's what they are, so it's a choice for all of us to go through. So, one of the invisible barriers that I can bring up here before, we'll call on other people in the on our panel to speak is one that a lot of people have. And that one is one of public speaking. Sometimes it's been known to us that people are so scared to speak in public, they would actually rather be the one, when it comes to someone's funeral, they'd rather be the one in the casket than the one giving the eulogy. That's how petrified they are. But it's like anything else. Once you get started and you get doing it, that's when, everything comes out, and then people all of a sudden are gonna, they'll realize the seed of greatness that's in them. So look at that. Ramon mentioned that as well. With that said, I am going to pass it off to the amazing Ramon Ray to give us some words of wisdom that he might have regarding invisible barriers. Ramon?
Yeah, no, I'll just riff off of what you said, Abie. I think you're right. Fear of public speaking is big, and I think the best way to do that is do it over and over and over and over and over again, and you lose that fear indeed. So I think you're absolutely 100% correct.
Ramon Ray, I love Ramon. One of the things that I've really come to respect Ramon, whenever he opens his mouth, he has something amazing to say. And the only criticism I have of Ramon is that sometimes he, in deference of others, just goes too quick to the, I'm like, give me more.
I can share a bit more, Cameron. Yes, I can. I wasn't sure if we wanted others. I wanted to save room. But no, I can.
No. So I always talk about this, but in the private chat for all my panelists, please call up, if you want next.
Sure.
So we're talking here about, these invisible barriers. And the first real sort of tangible question here is, what is the biggest invisible barrier you've experienced, overcame? I know Elise's want to jump in. Go ahead, Elise.
So just to kind of, okay, I'm unmuted. Just to kind of backtrack a little bit, when we talk about invisible barriers, I think it's important before you try to tackle, like what the problem is, figure out what the problem actually is, right? We need to actually assess where we're at. And invisible barriers are just that, they're invisible. So a lot of what I deal with is subconscious trauma. And when you go back to why you have fear of speaking or any kind of fear at all, a lot of what we have is built, from our experiences in childhood and just in general, right? So on top of just doing something over and over and over again, how do you get to that point where you need to repeat that experience? You have to kind of, I think, starting where you're at and really assessing why we do the things that we do, why we have the barriers that we have, helps out in overcoming them in the first place. Just thought I would put that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to head over to Mac. I know Mac wanted to jump in.
Absolutely. Yep. So I think the biggest, one of the biggest invisible barriers that I had that actually transformed my business was pricing. And I want to just, talk about I had amazing coaches in my life, and I encourage you, if you don't have a coach, get one. And if your coach doesn't have a coach, fire him. That's my opinion. But anyway, so one of the things
I wanted to highlight when you said pricing, a lot of nodding heads here. I'd love to hear from folks in the audience on LinkedIn. If pricing is one of those places, a lot of people nodding heads. Go ahead, Mac.
Yeah, I think pricing is, one of the biggest things that I coach my clients on is pricing. So there's just a couple of tips. So my very first coach was like, whatever your price is, add a zero. He was like, just add a zero, whatever it is. Doesn't matter what your price is, add a zero. So I tried it, and I had the biggest day I've had in 5 years previous to that. The second thing, it was, it's the way that you ask for the money. If you don't believe in you, why should I believe in you? Right? And then the third thing is to actually ask for the sale. So many people, they get it up, they warm the prospect up, they get them excited, they talk about their value, they get them right to the edge, and then they don't close them. They don't ask for the sale. So closed mouth doesn't get fed.
I love that. We're going to go over to Dr. Scott Dell. Go ahead, Scott.
Nails on heads. We're doing good things. One of the areas and one of the quotes that I remember hearing from Henry Ford, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And a lot of us don't have that level of confidence to jump out and do what we really, really can do. We don't think we can. So I'm going to throw another syndrome at you, imposter syndrome. Anybody in the chat have that fear sometimes? I'm not supposed to be here. I can't do what this is going all about. The reality is, it is more an internal barrier that you set for yourself. And you also fake it till you make it. I like making it and doing it and making things happen, but you have to have that confidence, and you have to sometimes go out on a limb and make things happen.
Yeah, I love that. I'm trying to see. Go ahead, Abie. I think Abie wanted to jump in.
And Cameron, while Abie's on mute there, I'll touch on one thing, if I may, just to give him space. Yeah, I was going to say the fact about the faking it till you make it. I think it's very true to what Dr. Scott said. I know this has been a big part of what I've done, and we're all here. I'm looking at Elise and Mac and the others who are on the screen. But the point is that I think the fake it till you make it is real. And I think that sometimes people feel, I know I deal with people in this as well, and they're like, Ramon, well, I'm not that, I'm not this. So therefore, since I'm not that, or I'm not there yet, I don't want to pretend I'm not, I don't want to lie. And I think if I can add on to what Dr. Scott said, it's not that we're saying lie at all. It's just that sometimes you have to build a bit of that bravado, a bit of that charisma, a bit of that credibility, a bit of that confidence. We've all seen the movies probably, right? Where the lone person, the bad guys were coming in the door and they had the weapon. The weapon was not loaded, but they made it seem like it was, and that saved the day. So sometimes that's kind of what fake it till you make it is all about.
I love that action movie reference there, so we can all put that into use. Sometimes the gun needs to appear like it's got something going on with it. Go ahead, Abie.
So it's interesting. I was going to mention something else, but with the fake it till you make it, I've heard also at times there's sometimes people that they're scared of the success, or they're scared to do what it takes to become successful. And that's something that I've never really been able to understand, is being scared of success. If on the other hand, I'm scared of not being successful. Do what you got to do until you become successful. Now, getting back to where Mac was at, we're just asking for the sale. So one of my mentors happens to be Jack Canfield. I was at a week-long seminar with him that my wife Liz turned me onto. And one of the greatest lines he said was, listen, people say no, we say next. People say no, we say next. You move on. No just means not yet. But what we have to learn how to become is an ask hole. Just be an ask hole. Keep asking. I mean, by all means, if someone's going to say no, what's going to happen to you? Are you going to be hurt? Oh, of course not. So that's what that's what I got for now. You love that. So thank you, Ramon.
Yeah, I love that. And Abie lives that, by the way. He hosts a group, Master Networks, 8 a.m. on Fridays. And I am inspired by his energy, but he just asks, and Ramon and I know Erica Maurer and her business partner with EMRG Media Group, and just seeing the way that they are constantly asking, and just they're pushing it. They have something of value, and they're not afraid of pushing it out there. It's such a big deal. Ramon, I don't know if you wanted to keep going. I know Mac wanted to jump in. Ramon, did you want to say something?
Sure.
Else?
I'll just riff on that, then I'll tag Mac. We'll play freeze tag or something like that. But no, I think it's true. And I think sometimes, it's going to the aspect of when to not tilt it. I've done big events and things like this, didn't have the money, I knew a little bit what I want to do. So I think that is important, that you have an idea of where you want to go, what you want to do. But let's say in particular money, you know what? People may not buy. You don't have to create the water bottle to have it. Crowdfunding is all about that. You can just dream it. I can tell Elise, I can do it. Elise, close your eyes. Do you see the water bottle? Elise, it has Bluetooth. It's powerful. It lights up and spins around the room. Elise gets excited. Ramon, here's a $55,000 for your water bottle. Now I have 30 days to make it and give it to her. So that's kind of thing we're talking about here. I will tag you, Mac. It's all yours.
That is amazing. And I can't tell you how many projects we've sold and then figured out how to do them. But I do want to say this. I want to go back to imposter syndrome a minute. If you're not feeling a sense of anxiety when you get up and you're doing your work, if you're not feeling any type of imposter syndrome, you're not growing. Because if you've got it all figured out and your business is successful and you're rocking and rolling and everything is the way that it's supposed to be, you have nothing to challenge you every day. So if you have nothing to challenge you, you're not growing. And any business that's not growing is by definition contracting. Like the definition of business is it's got to constantly be growing. So if it's not growing and you're not growing, you're contracting. So what are you doing to step into new challenges and new problems? Being an imposter is part of it. The anxiety is part of it. And your job is to figure it out. And that's what living should feel like to me, if you're an entrepreneur and you're in this space.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to get into Chris's question. I know Elise is biting at the bit here, ready to tackle this for Chris and this question. I think this is something that's common to a lot of people because we've sort of talked to it. They're afraid of success, afraid of failure. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if somebody gets angry at me? What if, right? All these kind of things. So with that sort of setup, Elise, go to town.
Yeah. So, I mean, negative what if questions are kind of like the mind and the body preparing us for like the worst possible scenario. But there's also another side to what if, like what if it does work out? What if they say yes? What then? We can kind of trick our mind when we flip it on itself, right? So we can see ourselves in that spiral, notice it, and ask, well, okay, what if it does happen? Do you have a plan? When you plan it out, you feel more safe, you feel more secure, and then it's not as scary anymore, right? But the problem happens when the what ifs prevent us from taking action, which feeds into the imposter syndrome, which feeds into more anxiety, which feeds into a life that's inauthentic, that we don't like living anymore. So stopping it in the tracks and thinking about, well, what if it does work out? What then? And, having your brain think of more solutions instead of problems can help you kind of navigate those two roads. Obviously, it's a lot more in depth, but that was my quick little take on it.
I'm on mute now. Scott, I know you want to jump in. Go ahead, Scott. Got to pull him off mute. There we go. Go ahead, Scott.
Excellent take and thoughts. One other thing about fear. Fear was brought up, and there's the fear of failure, but there's also the fear of success. And there's the healthy fear and the unhealthy fear. And frankly, I've learned more from my failures than I have my successes. And we're all going to fail, as long as it's not fatal. As long as I
wanted to capture the nodding heads here, because
if I'm 6 feet under, hey, I'm not worried about it anyways, right? But if I'm not 6 feet under, I'm a survivor, and I learned. And if you learn, that's the goal. And I'm an educator for life. Love to learn, love to teach, and love to share. But the whole idea of that fear, it's okay to have fear, but to have an unhealthy fear that prevents you from taking action is really going to obstruct your success. So you need to understand yourself, understand your own fears. And you know what? If it doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm getting caught up in pushing buttons here and everything.
You're doing great, Cam. You're doing
I know. Can I just take over the show, Cameron, for 2 seconds?
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, it's not easy to host the show, produce the show, put the lower thirds, put the comments. So understand what's happening back here by Cameron Toth is genius. Cameron, the show's back to you now. Thanks for letting me take over.
Just to read you a comment on the back, Cameron, maybe you want to keep the boxes on a bit more, right? As you and I'm going to do that. I'll let this flow a little bit freely. I want to jump in with another question here. What tools or resources do you use to break through barriers as they come up? So, I think we talked a lot about, some of the reasons not to pay attention to the what ifs and that sort of thing, right? But what are some of the tools and resources? I know in conversations that I have, mentors and conferences, attending different things. I know a lot of people can provide input. Who wants to jump in here on
I'll do that.
Resources? Go ahead, Ramon.
Yeah, Kim, I was going to say, for me, and again, I'd be curious with my other colleagues here, Dr. Scott and Abie and Elise and Mac and others, but I think for me, it is what you said, Cameron. It's the reading. I was reading a Guy Raz's book, How I Did This. A lot of the things we've heard a little older, meaning, they're not news stories. The Away, I forgot her name, the lady who did the Away luggage. But the point is, when I read stuff like that, it just inspires me. Being here with all of us, right? I forgot that Abie had, owned a few grocery stores or supermarkets. That's a big deal. So I guess what I'm trying to say is just some people, right, keep their head in the sand. They're just alone in their office doing their thing. But when you get out like this, and I'm looking at Max smile, I'm looking at Elise, it encourages you is what I'm trying to say. So we're all struggle. We put our head down, we fail. We're like, okay, Dr. Scott failed too, but he's here. Okay, let me wake up and do it another day. If that's for me, what it is.
Absolutely. I know Elise wanted to jump in. Go ahead, Elise.
Yeah, well, just going off of that, it comes down to just like doing the work and just diving into like all the things we've been talking about, like imposter syndrome and fear. We aren't necessarily afraid of success. We're afraid that we won't know what to do when it gets to success or what it takes to be successful. And we think that all these people have all the answers that we don't have. And the only reason that they have those answers is because they kept trying and they kept failing. And the only true answer is that nobody has anything really figured out 100%, right? It's how willing are you to keep doing the work and keep investing in yourself? And we can give you all the tactics in the world, but it's going to boil down to just doing those small things each and every day that compound. And then one day you look up and you're that expert. You're who everybody thinks has the answers. So, just like he said, surrounding yourself with people who inspire you, reading the things that inspire you, and don't reinvent the wheel. Look at someone who's done what you want to do and do some of the things that they've done. There's formulas out there for everything.
I love that. And Ramon chiming in with an interesting spelling of figureoutable. Everything
is figureoutable by Marie Forleo. I got you, Ramon.
We got. You can tell the people. We're the peeps, right? And it's true. I know, Cameron. I know somebody else is next, but just to riff off of what Elise said, what we're talking about is that, to Elise's point, and I think this is the magic of it. Everybody can do it, and I guess that's why there's the Dr. Scotts and Abie and Max and Elise's of the world and Cameron to help us. But Elise, I know you get me. It's true. Like I shouldn't say I don't understand. If they're really old, I get it. But like somebody saying, I don't know what a Schedule C corporation is. Just go on the keyboard and it's
right
there. It's just so
there for you.
And I'm gonna say this. I know Mac
That's
wants to jump
exactly
in.
what I was going to say.
I'm going to do two things here. One, I just want to chime in and say sometimes it's not about, because I think we all can get into that place where we just don't get onto Google and ask the question. We get lazy, but most importantly, sometimes you don't know the question to ask. You're stuck and you're in a place where, and that's where the mentorship and being consistent with networking and reaching out to people and doing things like this where you're pushing your boundaries, right? And the other thing that I wanted to do to shout out was just talk to about some of the folks that are watching us. Luca, thanks for chiming in here, shouting out Elise, Sherry Barone from New Jersey. I wanted to just remind everybody, please, as you're watching the show, like, share, hit those buttons, the clappy button, the heart stuff, share this out to your live network. It really does help get the word out and share this message with more people that need it. We're all about connecting. The show is all about creating connection. This is the Master Connection series. Abie Gabor is in for Steve Spiro, who's vacationing, lucky guy in Florida today. But Abie is our Master Connector in residence, really just holding us down and helping us. He brings people together amazingly. A lot of people watching the show today. So make sure you're hitting those buttons. Make sure you get your questions in. The more specific your question, the more you'll help us actually help you and other people that are watching by providing that guidance that really is maybe the thing that somebody really needs right now in terms of their life, maybe helping guide them to that question that they didn't know they even needed to answer, right? Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to stress this out because I think a lot of times we speak in the context of small business or startups, and guess what? Big companies don't have this stuff figured out either. Amazon didn't make money for 10 years. Apple releases an iPhone every year with improvements. Big companies have research and development departments. There's a thing called product market fit when new companies release products and programs. So so even big companies are trying to figure it out. They just have more resources to be able to throw at the problems. So when you're trying to figure something out, and as Ramon said, everything is figure outable. Shout out to Marie. Everything is figure outable. It is. Your job as an entrepreneur is to figure out the problems, systemize it, and then take it out to the world and scale it out so you can help more people. That's literally your job. So how do you solve that problem for you so that it's a win-win for everybody? So it's a win for you, that it's a win for your customer, so that it is a win for your team. If you have a team, build a team, right? All of those things. You want a win-win-win solution. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Check it out.
Oh, yeah. Stephen Covey in the house. Go ahead, Dr. Scott.
Yeah, actually, great point, Mac. And the accountant in me loves your Amazon analogy. And you look at Tesla, 17 years, no profit. This is the first year, 18th year making a profit. And then you say, how does Peloton not making a profit yet? And they haven't, and they're not. So everybody's having their challenges. I can't survive for 17 years without a profit. Not many of us can. But think of the entrepreneur in all of us. And someone actually in the comments in the audience talked about positive attitude, that PMA, positive mental attitude. And I'll say, when you got a LinkedIn picture, why aren't you smiling? Why aren't you smiling when you're talking to people, when you're in a video conference, when you're networking? Smiles travel. When I had a professional telesales group, they all had mirrors in their cubes. Why? Because you can hear a smile on the phone. You can have that opportunity to relay that positivity, and it mirrors back at you as well. So by all means, positive mental attitude, you can't neglect that either. It's from inside. We're talking a lot about barriers, and most of the barriers are ourselves. And if we can overcome those, if we know ourselves, we can surpass, exceed, and succeed.
Love it. Go ahead, Abie.
So, nowadays we have so many resources out there so that when we have these barriers, when we have things that are in our way, we could one of the things that I always love that help me are when I hear the stories of other people, the other successes that they had, the other failures that they had to overcome in order to become successful. And we think about what might hold us back. What if, people say no, or what if, you get rejected on one way or another. The persistence is so, so important. Sylvester Stallone was rejected 100 times before a producer finally said yes to Rocky. And at first he said no to him being the lead, and he said, I'm not going to do it then, until someone said yes, and now we all know how famous that is. Jack Canfield, 144 people said no to him doing the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, and then boom, number 145 said yes. That's a 500 million books sold. What if he would have stopped at number 120? So again, and there are so many, the stories are what keeps us going. And nowadays also, because of what's happened over the past year, the Zoom video recordings that we have now, people see the smiles. I just got that from Liz. Smiles are free. Smiles are the number one thing you could do. I call it like my secret weapon. I smile all the time, and people are attracted to that, and they like it. And people also realize those that are not authentic. People can see through a phony a mile away. If one is real and authentic, that's going to go a long way. And getting back to Mac, when it came to the pricing, people buy emotionally oftentimes, not logically. They'll buy from someone because they like them. And you know what? You get what you pay for. When you get your services through Mac, you're going to get what you pay for. And yeah, it's worth a lot more than the guy that doesn't know what he's doing and you're just throwing the money away anyhow.
Yeah, I love that. All right, I think we are going to go and tackle Chris's question. Chris, and thank you, Chris Januski, so much. I always appreciate the input, the questions, the comments. Invisible barrier that I have sometimes is the thought of what is the other person thinking about me? How do you overcome the fear of judgment? And before we ask this, because we were just talking about pricing, one of the things that sort of was a revelation to me, in addition to just being able to change my price and having clients not even bat an eye on it, was the idea that sometimes you can be priced too low. The idea that somebody, because of your pricing, it does create a judgment, a negative judgment that you're priced too low, that you're not putting yourself in with the right company with your price level. So that's something to think about too, if your pricing is low and it's not really working for you. I know Elise wanted to jump in. Go ahead.
So I'll jump in quick and then I'll pass it off to Mac. There's this really good quote that is, what other people think of me is none of my business. And, and like the doctor said, everything can be solved within self. So if we're thinking about what other people are thinking of us, we're giving all of our power away. We're relying on them to validate our worthiness. And so when we can come back to self and assess, why do I feel the need to be validated by somebody else in the first place, and build up that self-confidence and that self-esteem, then what other people think of us, we really don't care anymore. And we start charging what we're worth, and we start overcoming those blocks and those fears. So I would just dive into why you feel the need to be validated by that person in the first place.
Love it.
I want to talk about judgment because I'm judging myself because my background is a mess and I'm in the process of moving. So I'm judging myself. So and my cleaning lady was here, all in the background. It's crazy. So
hey Mac, can I just tell you something?
But that's
Mac,
life. That's life, right? Go ahead.
Mac, can I just tell you?
Yeah.
I thought you were like a billionaire because you had a cleaning person and you were in.
I didn't even know it was your cleaning person.
Yeah.
I thought it was someone in your family just doing their thing in the background.
Exactly. See,
and let me say, you guys are all amazing because I didn't notice it.
Told you we'd have fun
It was a gorilla walking through the scene with the guys passing the ball. I had no idea.
So I got a brand new computer 2 days ago, and none of my background stuff was working. I got my fancy camera and my fancy mic, and I got this horrible background. And so I'm judging myself. But I did take a course. I took a course many, many years ago. And what I learned from the course is that, people are walking, talking, judging machines. You can't help it, even if you don't want to. We are walking, talking, judging machines. So guess what? You need to get over yourself, because the easiest person for you to judge is yourself. We're most critical of ourselves, but you can't control external stimuli. All you can control is your response to that stimuli. So all you need to say to myself is, whether you're doing great or whether you're doing bad, you're going to get judged. So just accept that judgment is a part of it and let it roll off of you and focus on your inner demons. Because really, the person that you're most afraid of judging is you judging yourself. So once you can accept yourself, the fear of other people's judgment doesn't matter. And you know what? You can run up that block and you can go kill and conquer that dragon that's waiting up this dark alley that you're scared of walking up anyway, but you got to do it because we talked about walking into our demons and being uncomfortable. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
And meanwhile, we have some questions. We like your mic. We like your headphones. We love that fancy camera you're using.
I need to know where you got your camera because
we're all focused on different things.
Cam, you are hysterical. Absolutely hysterical. So amazing points, Elise and Mac. I love to follow up after what you guys said. So, it's so funny. Being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Look, your comfort zone is your danger zone. We've heard this all along, but it's so true. Once you get uncomfortable, you will move forward. And we speak about fear, and we've always heard these acronyms, false evidence appearing real. The one that I always bring back is face everything and rise. Look, that's what, when it comes to fear, just plow through it, man. Just plow through it. And what's on the other side will be great. And again, what anyone else thinks, you show that confidence in yourself, confidence begets confidence. In order to become, you have to overcome.
I love that. All right, so I'm gonna throw another question in here, and thanks to Steve Spiro, who is with us all today, because he designs these questions, and I think this is a really good one because I can point to a time in my life where there was things that happened that allowed me to make moves later on in my life. So what's a moment in your life? I mean, we talked about the process of learning through failure, right? We were nodding heads at, that's the moment we learn. But what are some of the epiphany moments for you that allowed you to sort of break ground and move through some of the invisible barriers that were holding you back?
I can share, Cameron.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Ramon. And I think that a couple things have happened to me, Cameron, is that I think that this happened a few years ago. I got off the stage, and as you read my bio, we've all done amazing things, but, so me speaking with some luminaries that we know and famous authors. And the point is, they said to me when I got off stage, Ramon, such high energy. Cameron, I kid you not, brother. I started almost to cry, and I was so depressed. Because I said to myself, why can't I be smart? I think I could have been on stage with Seth Godin, Simon Sinek. This was at a CRM big event I was at. And I said, why can't I be smart like Elise? Or why can't I be like introspective like Mac? I was doing that. But then somebody like an Abie, they pulled me aside and smacked me upside the head and said, son, that's a compliment. You should receive it and embrace that's your gift. So that is only recently, Cameron. And I've been doing this for years, man. So my point is, I hope that answers the question and helps somebody there. But I was thinking, oh, they're saying I'm dumb. They're saying I'm not the good one. But they were complimenting me with my gift. Does that make sense, Cameron?
Absolutely. And I'm going to push this over to Dr. Dell here, who I think wanted to jump in. Go
Absolutely.
ahead.
Actually, right on. It's about you and how you feel and how you think and your impression on that. And the same thing, the moment for me, I got fired. Okay. I'm not proud, but actually I learned a heck of a lot because then I became very self-reliant, resilient, and able to pick things up. Now you've heard about IQ, you've heard about EQ, okay, emotional quotient on the emotional intelligence. There's another AQ. It's this resilience quotient that's coming about. And it's how you pick yourself up when you trip and fall. And we're all going to trip and fall. So what do we think about what other people think of us? You almost have to say, so what? It's a hard thing to say, but there's two words. So what? I mean, sometimes you get the sale, sometimes you don't. You're not going to go bat 100%. If you're batting 300, you're making millions. And that's on baseball anyways. So you get the idea that we're here to succeed as best we can, but we're not always going to succeed, and maybe not to our own standard. But we're going to do the best we can. We'll trip, we'll fall, we'll be resilient, we'll get up.
Yeah, lots of head nodding going on here. Absolutely. Abie, I know you want to jump in.
Another one I have for you, Dr. Scott, is the NQ, which we've heard that's the no quotient. So the no is simply our direction. All the no's will lead to the yeses, and the yeses are the destination. It's, that's exactly.
I'm a formula guy. It's either 4 no's equals a yes or 7 no's equals a yes, something like that, but it works.
It certainly does. And you know what? You could have no's for 40 of them in a row, but then all of a sudden you'll have 6 in a row yeses. So it's not always 1 out of 6 or 2 out of 10 or whatever the case may be.
Excellent.
The other thing is this, with the fear, with the judgment that we were talking about before, is, so often we speak of people that are successful versus unsuccessful. We've heard this 80-20 quotient. I honestly believe that the people that we really want to follow it's more like the 3%ers. And so what does that mean? Everybody's got an opinion. We're going to listen to those 97% of people and worry about what their judgment is about us. You have to really follow those 3%ers, because those are the people that we want to hang out with and be with anyway, because that's who we have here right now. We're in a room of 3%ers here with a whole bunch of 3%ers in the chat with us.
When you talk success, though, Walt Disney wasn't successful. Steve Jobs wasn't successful at times in their life, but then they became very successful, and that's where we're all going, we hope. So we're not all flying at
the perseverance to.
Absolutely.
It's like when they said Oprah got denied from radio and said you weren't good enough, like all those people. But at the time, they weren't good enough, right? They weren't good enough at that time. They had to still gather the skill sets and keep going. That doesn't mean they were never good enough. And that's like something
in the wrong
that
place or doing the wrong thing.
Right.
And I think I'll add one more thing, Elise, to what you said. I think the word persistence. And I think one more thing, I think persistence is most of it, but I wonder the power, to more of a question for all of us, if I may, Cameron, creativity. I'm curious. I wonder that those people who were told no, maybe I'm imagining, and I'm sure there's documentation of this, they didn't just keep banging their head against the wall, but they're like, oh, Max said no to me this way. Let me put on the different, or you get what I'm saying? Let me ask it differently. So I think persistence with creativity, I think those two things is like the super combination. That's what I think, at least from my journey.
Doing the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
Sorry, and if I could just add one thing, because this is a quote that I use to, sometimes we don't have like any of the answers and it's hard to push through. So one question that I always ask myself when it gets to hard times or I'm facing judgment, like outward judgment, not even just in my mind, is my mission bigger than my ego? Because if you are led by your mission and that's, serving a higher purpose than yourself, you can almost always overcome anything. Right? It's kind of like your why, but I just ask myself, is that mission bigger than my ego? And that's what has kind of helped me just overcome all of those obstacles, and I can be creative enough to find a way.
That is exactly, I just want to piggyback on that, and then I'll turn it back over to Cameron. That's exactly what I was going to say, because a lot of the people that you guys have been talking about that are hyper successful, like everybody on this panel, they have something that gets them out of bed in the morning. And the same energy that you use to have that tenacity to go another day when things are going bad is the same energy that you can use to repel all of these comments that people have to say, and all of the naysayers and the haters and all of that. You can't find anybody who's hyper successful, whether they're in media, entertainment, fashion, business, who doesn't have a light shined on them. And there is just a certain amount of energy that it requires to have this bulletproof skin, but it is the same energy that we use to keep going, because we are passionate and because we are invested in what we're doing.
Liz, that's a great point that you just made about Steven Spielberg. So, Ramon, another thing that I say with persistence is persist without exception, but with the proper posture. You have to persist with the proper posture, creativity with the proper posture, and it will take you places. No doubt.
Yeah, you're so true. And I think to that proper posture, I think you're right. I remember the first time I sold a gig to a financial services company, I put it that way, that helps small businesses with their cash flow issues. Abie, I hadn't done it before. They were like, have you done it before? I'm like, no. Can you promise that you'll do it? No. With the phone calls, we all been on them, right? Elise and Dr. Everybody else, right? Where the 10 people there, VP of this, beep, 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 on the conference call, and then it's just you. So to your point, persistent, but a little bit of bravado, a little bit of that. I know I can do it. Put your money on me, bet on me. And it worked.
Love it. Love it. That's an way to go. Bravo to you.
I want to point to a time that I failed. I just had the thought in my head now. It's of course vanishing from my mind, but I've had these moments in my life where I've come up on it and just, completely went into failure mode. And then that sort of dictated things that came after, right? Oh, here it is. So when I was growing up and in school, I was into creative writing. I was into poetry. And I got some negative feedback from an instructor, a professor at the new school. And I let that derail me. I seriously let that take me away from writing poetry, continuing down that path, continuing that journey. Years later, I keep on, live a busy life of kids, all that stuff, business is going on, but I keep on going back to it. I got, piles of poetry. I keep on wanting to go back to it, but there is that negative self, talk, and then the time. I don't have enough time. Meanwhile, there's always enough time to watch a Netflix show or HBO when I'm in that relaxed mode, right? So it's how we actually, position ourselves and feel towards it. I wanted to put this question out there for everybody. What advice do you have that, for somebody that's coming up across that, right? So they've hit that mental roadblock. They're trying to pursue their passion. They've gotten some negative feedback. What are things that you've sort of done for yourself? And what do you recommend to others to sort of inspire them to get past these things? Beyond the mentorship, right? We've talked about mentorship. We've talked about reaching out, talked about, participating, not to say that these aren't, great and valid answers, but what are things that you've done to sort of reach down on yourself to push yourself forward?
I just wanted to answer what you said, that story that you had regarding professors or bosses or what it is. It's amazing to me how powerful when somebody's in that educational seat, what the power that they have over kids and how it could stay with you your whole lives. I hear stories all the time about how people were affected from 5th grade. That experience stays with them for a lifetime or whatever it might be. What I could tell you going forward is that, again, those are invisible barriers. Liz says perfectly: reframe, rewrite, redesign. I always say change the channel. When things are going bad, a different place, like you're watching TV now, change the channel to something else. And when it comes to giving advice, I find what people also really can relate to are experiences that others have had, experiences of when other people have had barriers that they've gone through when they failed. They may or may not relate to it because it's not the exact same story, but what they do relate to is the humility and the fact that, wow, I thought this was someone that was so successful or whatever the case may be, but they went through it too. And you know what? If they did, so could I. So I know Dr. Scott had something to say too. I can't wait to hear him.
Actually, what you just said is powerful, and thank you for sharing. I'll tell you the barriers that you set, that we talked about confidence earlier, but we also, the question being, so how do you pick yourself up when someone puts you down? Well, you have to, it comes from within. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was some structure and change. I mean, the only constant is change. About a week ago, I heard a guru talking and saying, the only folks that like change are babies. And that's usually because of the diapers. They need to get changed and the nappies have to go away. But the idea of change is a constant that we need to adjust to and be part of. And if we can accept that and know that, it's uncomfortable, but that's a flow. One other thing I want to bring up, again, when kids were brought up, remind me of structure. If you say, kids, no structure, you can stay up as late as you want, you can eat all the chocolate and all the sweets and anything you want, no structure, they're not going to succeed. They need structure. Students, adults, anybody, I need structure. And to succeed, I have to have the time to work out. I should do it more, right? To learn, to read, to network, to pursue business, to work in the business, work on the business. It's all structured, and I need to set some time apart. And one of the more wiser things that I've heard lately is my calendar should not have 5 days a week. It should have 3 days a week and have Monday and Friday open. Those are things you got to give yourself the time, because you can't just be a workaholic and work 18-hour days.
Hey, Dr. Scott.
Nor can you be on Clubhouse 24 hours straight. So not going to happen.
I think two things are important, and Cameron's laughing interestingly about Clubhouse. Anyway, we won't go there. But two things, Dr. Scott, you said were interesting. Discipline. I think that's so important. I mean, it sounds so basic. And you mentioned Calendly. I'll just riff off of what you said. It's true. I was just talking to my team a day ago, and they were saying, Ramon, stop it. When you have catch-up meetings, just have them on Mondays at a certain time. So that simple discipline there, I think, is so important. Two, you mentioned the aspect of being comfortable with change. Listen, hopefully COVID kind of thing only happens once in a lifetime. But the point is, I think we have to be comfortable. We've mentioned the fact of persistence. We mentioned creativity. I think this aspect of being comfortable with uncomfortability makes success as well. You think about the high-performing athletes, Navy SEALs, and others, as we probably have studied and know. I see Elise nodding her head. This is one thing that separates them. You're going to land in whatever country with 1,000 terrorists. It finds out they landed in a different country with 10 million terrorists. Okay, guys and gals, let's just make it happen. You got to adapt.
Yeah, that blew me away there. My brain shifted radically there with the terrorist piece there.
Although we talk insecurity, even the athletes are insecure. Even the movie stars are insecure. The successful business people are insecure. I mean, I'm going to pull a muscle, tear a tendon. I'm out of business. Early retirement. That's not what I want to be as an athlete. But there's a constant fear.
The mental pressures, right? The absolute mental pressure of high performance. And I think we can all put ourselves into that frame of mode, especially when we get into the grind, right? We get into that flow state. We're going. And then the moment we hit a bump, the moment things aren't going our way, the moment we sort of sit back and say, oh, I'm not getting the success that I thought I was going to get. I'm not getting the feedback that I thought I was going to get. And then suddenly the flow state, the knowing, the path can all fall away. And interesting comment from my interview with Carlette Hewitt, somebody else that was also doing an awesome job on Clubhouse and social media in general. But sometimes it's that moment where you're feeling that break, like somebody running a marathon and you hit that wall. That's the moment you have to keep going. That's the moment you're making progress, when you start feeling the pain.
That high performance that you're talking about, so much of it is that all of us individuals that want to perform that high performance, we're doing the work when nobody's watching. Those are the athletes that are in the gym when no one else is in the gym, and they're shooting, or whatever the case may be, whatever it is that you're doing. The runners that are constantly running when nobody's watching them. Those are the true champions, the ones that just persist without exception.
And it feels the worst, right? Because you're there sweating away, and there's no accolades. There's nobody saying in the empty auditorium that you're doing an awesome job. Go ahead, Elise. I know you wanted to jump in.
No, I mean, I love everything you guys are saying. And it's so true. Like, what COVID did was it erased this illusion that there is security, right? That there is this, comfort zone. And it kind of shook a lot of us out of that and made us question, okay, I really have been ignoring the fact that I don't like my reality for the longest time. It erased a lot of our invisible barriers and made them very visible. So just to answer your original question, Cameron, about, someone struggling with their invisible barriers, and going back to what you said about, being rejected and just negative things that people have to say about you, is remembering that when people say something negative about you, what they're doing is projecting their beliefs onto you. So if they think they can't do it or it's not possible, like, that's their problem, right? That's what they think about themselves. That's their reality. But it doesn't have to become your reality. Somebody else's vision of you does not have to become your reality. And I think that's really important to remember when you're chasing after a dream alone, running the race alone, and no one's cheering you on. You have to have that voice of, I create my own reality.
Absolutely. Mac, I know you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, so some of this has already been said, but I feel like it's so important to be said. Muhammad Ali said, "I run on the road before I fight in the ring." No one would see him running on the road, but when he got in the ring, he was prepared for that thing. And what I will say is, anybody who's really struggling with imposter syndrome, because I suffer with it, like I told you guys, every day. What I realize is, if you're suffering from imposter syndrome, there's usually some cause of it. And I think the hardest part is to identify what the cause of your imposter syndrome is, and then attack the cause ferociously. Because I know there were certain things that I feel that I'm imposter about. I go get help. I go study. I go read 10 books on the subject. I watch 8 hours of YouTube videos, and then I know a little bit about it. I haven't mastered it, but I know a little bit about it, and I start working towards my 10,000 hours of mastery, right? But the hardest part of that whole process is me identifying what's causing that imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I feel like that's something that needs a deeper dive, and maybe people will address it as we go around and do some closing statements, because the mentality, right, the psychological damage, when Elise was talking about the idea that, people put themselves in these states, people that are abused go back to the abuse, right? Like, you just have this situation where people sometimes don't do what's in their own best interest because of whatever they got going on in psychology. And you got to work that stuff out. Journaling, whatever you got to do to get that mental block out of there. I want to go around, do our closing statements. And if everybody would just let people know who you are looking to connect with and how they should connect with you. Elise, if you can start us off, and then Ramon. Go ahead, Elise.
I just want to say thanks, everyone. Once again, subconscious trauma coach, so at helping with any of your blocks. And I would just love to connect with anyone. This is a connection platform, and I make positive videos, and I love meeting everyone here. So happy to connect with anybody at any time.
All right, we're going to go to Ramon Ray. Thank you.
Hey, Elise, amazing. And Elise, good to hear your comments. And I've really enjoyed being with everyone here. And Cameron, Toth, thank you for being a great moderator. Abie, thank you for what you've done. But Ramon Ray, and hey, if anybody wants to learn more about personal branding and my concepts of celebrity CEO, you can just check it out at smarthustle.com. But it's a pleasure to serve and be here. Thanks.
And Ramon's book is one of the books that I'm currently reading. I'm reading like 3 books right now, and really, it's a great book. A lot of great input for anybody that's trying to do better on social media and build up their personal brand. So shout out to you. I know he's got a heart out at 3. Let's go to Mr. Mac Burnett, and then we'll go to Dr. Scott Dell. Go ahead, Mac.
Cameron, Abie, always up for talking to you guys. Listen, Mac Burnett, Powerful Impact. I'm looking to connect with professional service businesses, tech startups, nonprofits that are looking to grow. I'm a business architect and a growth hacker. I look holistically at how they grow, generate leads, all of those kinds of things. Ramon, I'm a big fan. If you guys haven't gone to Smart Hustle, you need to know who this guy is. Elise, would love to connect with you. Dr. Scott would love to connect with you. Everybody have an amazing week. And listen, you don't have to get it perfect. You just have to get it going.
All right. And make sure you let people know. I know we got LinkedIn connections down below, and people can connect with you that way. But if you got a website or something, definitely let people know. Your website, Mac, is what?
You can go to powerfulimpact.com, and you can also go to entrepreneursiq.com. We're launching a whole free text coaching platform in the next month or so. So come check us out.
Beautiful. All right. Mr. Dr. Scott Dell.
Amazing panel and amazing coordination. You guys do an amazing job, and appreciate being here. And it is an honor and privilege, in all seriousness. Just a quick summary: 15 years to instant success. So you hear about everybody that's succeeding. It doesn't happen right away. And it hasn't happened. I know it didn't happen for me. Colonel Sanders was in his 60s. I just got my doctorate a year ago. So and I'm 61. So
Congratulations.
Thank you. So to connect, I'm a LinkedIn guy. That's my drug of choice. Love to connect on LinkedIn. Dr. Scott CPA is the name on it. But we also launched on March 1st a networking platform called Vexter, Virtual Expert Directory, VEXDIR.com. There's a free membership option. Would love to see you there, and love to get together and grow together, learn together, exchange together.
Love it. And I just want to shout out Susan Castelli. I haven't seen her in the comments, so thanks for watching today. The stronger you are, the more confident you are, the more negative works come your way. The negative force army wants to see you unhappy, and they try their hardest, right? And so, yeah, sometimes you're going to see more of the negative stuff. For me, I don't really see a lot of negative stuff with the stuff I'm putting out on YouTube. I get a lot of like porn links that I have to delete off the thing, but it's a whole nother story. More I do, the more I have to spend time on that kind of stuff. But I'm very fortunate that our community is extremely positive. Abie, close us out. I'm so excited that you came in and played a great part in the Master Connector role. So happy with all of our guests today. Close us out, Mr. Master Connector, Abie Gabor.
Well, thank you very much. It was an honor to be here with y'all, and I have to tell you, it's a lot of fun to do this. This is an amazing panel that I'm with. I would love to connect with each and every one of you. Abie Gabor, that's my name right there. That's my connect on LinkedIn. You can email me, abie@abiegabor.com. It's very easy. I love to meet people, get to know them, do what we call a face-to-face in Master Networks. And then, through that, we can see how we can be of service to each other. All right. Clearly what I have is something that everyone could use, but I'm not going to sell that. I just want to get to know people. And through that positive connectivity, that's how the world grows, and that's how each of us grow. So we're all here to help us grow both professionally as well as personally. Cam, you do an amazing job. It's always a pleasure to be with you, whatever room that we're in. And I'm just super excited to be here, super excited to be with you whenever we're together. So it's great.
Thank you very much. Always happy to connect. Thank you guys so much for being here. I know Mr. Mac Burnett Ramon Ray had a heart out, and Elise's got to go. Thank you so much for being with me. Appreciate you all in the comments, engaging, commenting, asking questions. So appreciative of it. Thanks for participating today. You make it so much fun for us. Chris Dutra's chiming in. Have a great weekend, everyone. Pano, you crushed it. So this is the tradition with the show. We do a little countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We actually got it from Mr. Abie Gabor. So that's why Steve and I do it. So Abie, you should be familiar with this. So we'll do a little countdown and we'll crush it. Just before I do that, next week, April 23rd, Friday, April 23rd, we'll be doing what's the difference between networking and connecting. We'll have guests Raquel Boris, Adam Holzer, Natalie Money Mama Goldberg, and Jason Lebowitz. So really looking forward to that. Steve will be back from vacation, I'm assuming rested, fresh, and with a nice tan. So we're going to count this down now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Crush it! All right, guys. Thank you so much for this. Play us off with the video. Appreciate you all. Everybody, keep commenting, sharing this out. If it was helpful to you, it'll be helpful to others. Thank you so much for your participation in this. Everybody, have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Fire up your Friday
Fired Up Friday.
with Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
I am Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
Over the next hour of this Master Connection series, we will take a deep dive into the different ways to connect and network effectively.
See us and hear us right now. So LinkedIn, we are on here. We're getting ready.
Hear from experts along with Steve Spiro, who went from being shy and introverted to the Master Connector.